Ashley Hensley, and for my demonstration speech today, I will be telling you how to choose the settings for your Nikon DSLR camera. The thing to remember when choosing your settings is that although a room like this may appear bright, your camera sensor will not read it as so. Today I am using my Nikon D300 to show you where your settings might be located. The three settings that I'm going to be talking about today are ISO, aperture, and shutter speed. ISO is how receptive your camera is to brightness. A low ISO, such as 2 or 300, are most often used for daytime or bright settings, while a high ISO is used for dim or night settings because your camera is more sensitive to light. The issue with using high ISOs is that while it is lightening your image, it is also making it grainier, called noise. Noise is an issue because it can diminish the overall quality of your image. Now you can find ISO either by going to your menu to your settings down to ISO, or by using the button at the top of your camera and using the back dial to move it backwards or forwards to select your image. The next setting that I'm going to talk about is aperture, which is the adjustable opening in the lens that is measured in ratio to diameter. They're called f-stops. Now, the thing to remember about f-stops is that the smaller the number, the larger the hole actually is to let in more light, while a bigger number is a smaller hole to let in less light. Now, a factor that you need to think about with aperture is depth of field. Depth of field is the distance between the foreground and the background of your subject that is in focus. A shallow depth of field is when your subject is in focus while the rest of the image may be blurred. This can be achieved by using a lower f-stop, while using a higher f-stop will allow more of your image to be in focus, which is called greater depth of field. Now you can change your aperture settings by using the front dial on your camera to change it forwards or backwards to select your settings. The last setting that I'm going to be talking about is shutter speed, which is the length of time that the shutter on your camera is open to allow light. This is measured in fractions of a second. So a smaller fraction is a faster shutter speed because the shutter is open and closed faster, allowing less light to enter the camera, which is also freezing action. This is most often used for daytime settings, while a larger fraction means that the camera is open for a longer time, allowing more light in. The issue with using a slower shutter speed is that when you get down to an 80th of a second or longer, your subject may be moving faster than your shutter, which is called motion blur. Now, the three settings, ISO, aperture, and shutter speed, all work together to create what is called a perfect exposure time. This is important because when one of your settings changes, the other have to change as well to compensate for the light difference. You also need to think about the fact that each of these settings has a secondary factor that will also affect your image: noise, depth of field, and motion blur. So in a room like this, I would probably have my ISO be set at 1000 with my aperture set at 2.8 and my shutter set at 100, so that way it can make the correct